Welcome to the Crypto Traders Podcast, simplifying cryptocurrency for traders and investors around the world. Subscribe for interviews with developers, market updates, and a professional look at the future of money. You've come to trust Matthew and Kurt to filter out the noise across social media. Now you can listen on the go. Without further ado, here's the Crypto Traders Podcast.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into the Crypto Traders Podcast with Kurt Wooker Jr. and Matthew John. Right over there. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus, so we're going to start calling this Season 2 of the Crypto Traders Podcast. And we were really excited to have Craig Cobb on from Trader Cobb. Matt, what did you think of his trading style? He actually, a bunch of things he said really reminded me of things you say quite a bit.
Yeah, it seems like we have a similar trading style. I was really excited to finally have a trader on our podcast. Generally, we have only done developers or people that are already working in the space in kind of a different realm. But he's a trader, so he speaks my language. And it was great to talk with him and kind of learn more about his business and what he's doing in the markets.
Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, I liked his first of all, actually, I liked his attitude. He was just a no nonsense, no pump and dump, no crypto shill. I like the fact that, I like to typically wear a nice shirt, and I usually wear a jacket, and he beat me by wearing the jacket. So, it was just a good time. I think it was a good podcast. It was educational, and I like how much it reinforced the keep it really simple or keep it stupid simple format that we try to let everybody know in the CryptoTradersPro.com community. So yeah, it was good stuff. I think you're going to enjoy this one, everybody. Again, Season 2, Crypto Traders Podcast, brought to you by nobody because we are impossible to buy. We will not sell out, I think. So a pretty quick one too. Only about 40 plus minutes, but I think you're going to learn a lot, everybody. Anything to add, Matt, before we launch it?
Oh, we'll see you on the moon.
All right, see you on the moon, everybody. Enjoy. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Season 2 of the Crypto Traders Podcast. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus. I've got a baby on the way. We've got hot markets and everybody doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But we had the opportunity to bring Craig Cobb from Trader Cobb to come out and talk to us about basically what he does. I was blessed to be on Craig's show last week and really enjoyed it. So we said, let's have him out and we can introduce him to our community, and we'll trade groups a little bit and let everybody know that there are respectable people in Australia. So how you doing, Craig?
Mate, I'm very well. It's a pleasure to be on the show and to meet Matthew this time. I had a good chat with you last week or the week before, Kurt, and it's nice to meet you too, mate. I'm looking forward to having a chat. Yeah,
for sure. So let's kick it off. I like to ask this story of everyone because I have the weird. I'm one of those early adopter guys. So my first experience with Bitcoin was not getting a Coinbase account. It was literally some anarchist dude paid me in Bitcoin to print him a sign, and that's kind of how the old school guys were. But what's your Bitcoin origin story? How did this start for you?
Yeah, look. First of all, I've been trading for 13 years. Two now. This is actually August will be my 2-year anniversary of trading this most amazing of markets. So I've been trading a lot, like full time. I had a fund in London, spent 6 years there, came back to Sydney where I live now in Bondi. And in July of 2017, I got a call from a business mentor of mine, and he said, "Cobby, you've got to look at this cryptocurrency thing." I'm like, "What?" Because I was introduced to it in 2013, and as a predominantly foreign exchange and commodities trader, I was like, "There's no way I can trade this. It's just I just don't have access to what I'm used to, right?" I wasn't a tech investor, or I wasn't an anarchist. I wasn't anybody who would have remotely any interest in Bitcoin. So I just kicked it to the curb. In 2017, it was brought back. I'm like, "Oh, dude, what are we doing here? Come on, you're mining it? What's the story?" He goes, "Just go and have a look at it." Because when you get the right person say the right thing, you're like, "Okay, I respect you enough to do that." Bam, into the rabbit hole, and away I went. My rabbit hole wasn't so much about reading every white paper that I could. I read a few and went, "Yep, this is not what I want to do here," and because I just couldn't find any way of valuing anything. So,
Sure.
and like, me being an old school guy, I'm like, there's no, this is not my forte. So I went and found out what the charts look like, where I could trade at the volumes. And I went, wow, all right, this bad boy is it's up and running, and it's becoming a teenager, and joined the party. I usually wait 2 months to trade a new market. I'm trying to find out what the non-farm payrolls are of that market. What are the earnings reports? When do they happen? What are they? And there are none of those things. So after 6 weeks, I started investing in July straight away, because there's no better way to join a market than get involved financially, because then you are in it. And I started trading about August. So it was early August of 2017. And mate, it was. I mean, you guys were there. I mean, you both traders. Like the returns that I was getting in foreign exchange stocks. I was doing good. I was making a living from it. But I mean, geez, like, what I was doing in this market, just trading the same strategies, managing the same amount of risk, but the reward multiple was just mind-boggling. If you're going to receive $2,000 on a trade in FX, you're looking at 3 to 1, maybe $6,000 return in this market. That could be 300 grand in 3 weeks. So it kind of blew my hair back. I used to have hair before I got into crypto. I just took it clean off, and I've been there ever since.
Yeah, beautiful. I live in Chicago, so I have some friends, and I'm in the trading community.
So you had the same wind thing with your hair too, right?
Oh yeah, it was beautiful. I have friends that work at like CME Group and CBOE, and the criticism that I get when I'll get them to look at it, like, come on, man, I know you're a pro, but take a peek. And the main criticism I get is there's no liquidity. And, I keep telling them, like, well, yeah, but are you going to, what are you trading? $100 million? Like, trade on the side. You don't have to, whatever, like, play the volatility. Who cares? You're not going to have trouble getting out with your side money, right? And they just they're so insulted by the lack of liquidity. Do you have any, like, as a professional, do you ever look at it and feel like maybe crypto is a little amateur, maybe I'm the weird guy, or does that?
Look, there's definitely, first of all, if they're at the CME, they need to pull their finger out and have a look at the volumes that have been going through recently, because they've increased so significantly that, it's a really good insight into what institutional money's coming in, is those futures contracts, in my eyes, because you haven't got your mums and dads playing in that market. You've got your big traders, you've got your funds, you've got those sorts of players who want some exposure. But I mean, the biggest complaint I have from my mates over in London and New York is that, and Sydney as well, but most of London and New York is that, the order systems are just so archaic, and I'm with them on that. Like I've interviewed on my Trader Cobb Crypto podcast a absolute ton of exchanges, and I keep asking them, well, why can't we link a stop, just a stop and an entry? That's all I need. Okay, you take profit orders. Look, surely you can do that, but let's just do one thing at a time. Bitfinex had an option like that for a little while, but they changed it for God knows what reason. It's just the pain in the butt of actually trading this market and limiting your risk. You've got to be there. You've got to be there more than you would in other markets. Now, that's not a barrier for people that are listening or watching this going, well, then I certainly won't do that then. Not at all. You've got to trade windows and know what you're doing with the time that you've got. But there are platforms that are now starting to come in to offer those sorts of things. So I have had the liquidity issue conversation, and I just say, look, you know that I'm not trading on a $6 account. So, I just stick, if I'm going to trade margin, I'm trading the top 10 or so. There's plenty of liquidity there. Work out this market, go and find the exchanges that have the better volume for different products. Like you would, if I used to have about 8 different accounts when I was trading. I still have those accounts. I just don't use them much anymore. I used to have all these different accounts, because if I can get a tighter spread on gold on this platform than over on that platform, I'm going to use the tighter spread on that platform, provided the brokerage or the commissions aren't too high, right? So it's the same thing with this. It's just they're lazy, mate. A lot of traders just get into a place where, and I get it, because as a trader, you're not always, in my view, you're not always trying to find the next thing. Once you've spent the time to learn what works, you kind of just need to double down on yourself, and it's all in here. You've got to keep your head in the right place at all times, and that's a full-time bloody job. For me, it is anyway. So it's less about that and more about the fact that they just don't want to change what they're at. They're going to have to come, because they're going to be forced to.
Yeah.
So for the people that are looking to transition from the other markets, such as Forex or stocks, what would you say are some of the key differences that crypto has over these other markets?
The key differences, number one, is the volatility. I mean, that's, people talk to me that are traders and they go like, there's some very vocal idiots out there. Peter Schiff, I've interviewed him. He kept talking about gold like it was the best thing in the whole world.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, every argument that he had about why gold's better than Bitcoin, I'm like, but Bitcoin does that too.
Right.
But there's people that are so, and he typifies really what a lot of traders are. I don't want anything new. It's okay. The old Simpsons old man yells at Bitcoin type meme, right? I think what the really important thing for people to understand is that it is a market, just like any other market. It has enough liquidity now that you can trade big sizes. You just need to know where you're going. The liquidity the volatility should be the red rag to a trading bull, right? Because, like I said before, you can still manage your risk exactly the same as you can in any other market. You can still make money just the same as you can in any other market. It's just that with this market, you can make a shit ton more money because it moves so much more viciously. So as with anyone trading, manage your risk, manage your orders, and let your profits go.
Yeah.
It's just
100%.
a market.
Do you see it being a pro or a con that the market never stops?
Oh, I think it depends on the individual, right? I know a lot of people that are like, oh, I can't sleep because it's like, you've got to trade over the weekends. Yeah, if that's your thing, that's your thing. I've been doing this for 13 years now. And, even with foreign exchange, it's a 24 hours, 5.5 day a week market, right? You would get a weekend off, but you would have 24 hours in a day to trade if you deemed that necessary. If you want to be a good trader, you need self-control and discipline. So I think it's a positive. I also think it's a positive because if you think of probably our demographic, I'm at the end of it, but the millennial demographic, think of how hard we've got to work to get ahead now that our parents have bought all the property and made all the money. So it's, we need 7 days a week. We need 7 days a week just to get close to getting a property, right? So, I mean, Matt, you understand how this works. And in Australia, it's pretty insane.
Australia is a little bit different than the Midwest in the U.S., where properties are
probably
under 100,000.
Oh, well, you can't, you will not buy a house in this city for you will not buy a house in this city for under $1 million.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's quite insane. So from our point of view, in Australia, the millennials, we want to have, like, we're a 24-hour human being. We're the biggest demographic with voter populace. We're an educated breed because we are from the kids of the baby boomers. We have been through good times. We've not seen any major wars or conflict like our parents. So we, as a massive demographic, are the future of this planet. We're the future leaders, future CEOs, future innovators, future entrepreneurs. We need 24 hours a day. I think it's a really, really good thing. You've just got to know who you are and how to manage yourself through that so you don't burn out, because burnout's a real thing for traders. And don't get too lonely. Sitting in front of all your screens, you might feel like you're working, but with trading, it's, time and money don't come together. I can raise an order and make $100,000 on that trade, and it takes me 15 minutes.
Right.
I have to put in a whole year of work to make $100,000, or $1,000 or whatever number people are at. Time and money don't meet like a wage does. And it transforms your way of thinking to allow yourself time to disappear and live the life you want to live, really.
Yeah. No, amen to that. That's really why Matt originally started the Crypto Traders brand, specifically to look for other people to trade with. Because like you said, man, there's nothing like sitting in front of a computer all day and wondering if it's worth it.
Yeah.
But, the numbers are great, but it's like, do I have friends?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I'm going to call some, no. I'll probably just go on Facebook instead because I haven't got any friends.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Let's get in a political argument.
Yeah.
So curious about your overall strategy. Are you like a long-term bull on like Bitcoin, Ethereum? Are you trading to accumulate, or are you really focused on fiat profits?
No, I'm trading to accumulate because I'm in a different position to many people, though. I mean, we've got to understand, like, I'll call a spade a spade. I've got the education business, tradercobb.com. We've got the podcast. We've got a few things going on within this industry that provide us with the income to pay our bills and have our holidays, do all that sort of crap. I've always done that. Even when I was trading full time, I always had fingers in other pies because it's made me a better trader in the sense that I don't have that extra additional emotional desire to perform every single day. I've never suffered from that, just simply because I've never bought into that theory, because I've set my life up in that way. from my point of view, I do build my trading accounts to back into Bitcoin. Now, I've got two accounts, two ways of doing it. I've got lots of accounts for two different ways. One is my investment portfolio. Okay, so that's where chuck it onto the wallet, cold storage, and let it do its thing. Swing it back across, get out when I need to. What I typically do, and I've just reshuffled my portfolio yesterday, is so I tend to have my holdings in the top 10. I've reshuffled everything simply because I think that that's probably the next phase of movement. In my humble opinion, I'm not a fundamentals guy, but I'm just sort of trying to predict who's coming to the market next. And I think it'll be the next generation above. And I think they'll be more focused on who's been around the longest, in my view, and who's got a product. So I trade for Bitcoin. Now, if I've got even like on BitMEX, for example, if I'm trading the XBT, Bitcoin against the dollar, it converts back into Bitcoin. Once my Bitcoin gets to a certain amount, I then take that back out, move it across into, say, Binance or whatever other platform, and buy more of those tokens, because I want to balance my portfolio so it's not all in Bitcoin and not all in this. Or I manage an investment portfolio for myself and the business, and I also run trading. Now, I will move out. We moved out in first bunch of selling out properly of Bitcoin. My first big scale out was at 12.5. I'm talking 2017. Sure. And then again, I think it was 15.5 or 15.8, something like that. Yeah. It was one of those big $3,000 days that we had. Yeah, that's when I got the rest out. I've been buying it again from 9, lower and lower. I'm pretty happy with where I'm sitting at the moment. Yeah. So I will move back into fiat. I've got no problem with doing that. It's just I've got to wait for the time. I know what to look for and I know what to wait for, just because markets don't go up forever. And I'll move back into dollars so I can then go back into. And I don't typically go to the stable coins if I'm going to exit. I've got some trust issues. I'm a trader. All I care about is risk.
Don't blame you. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny. I was the same way as a long-term guy. I wasn't doing a ton of trading, but in 2017, it was okay. We hit 10 grand, and I'm like, well, when should I actually start to scale out? And I think, if I remember now, I think it was all the way out in the 15,000 area too. And then I started opening shorts up in the 18s, and then it kept going. I'm like, oh man, it's getting bonkers. And then when we bounced off at 20K, I was like, all right, we're gonna be okay here. But yeah, it was a wild ride when we're that far out on the parabola, But
mate, I copped some serious flack on Twitter back then. Like I didn't try to Cobb. The business wasn't set up then. I had no intention of actually doing this education thing. I just couldn't find somebody that I like. I couldn't find somebody like me who'd been trading other markets for a long time and who knew what they were doing, and was somebody who just wasn't a troll and an idiot, and someone who came down in the last shower. And no, well, actually, no, you can take offense to that, whoever you are out there. I don't mind if you do. So it was it was out of a demand for what I saw as a gap in the market. But I put a tweet out there, and it might have been December. I can't remember the exact day, but if anyone wants to scroll through that long, you can see it. So if I was to short Bitcoin, it would be here. And it was in the 19,000s, and it would just it was spot the dog. It was absolutely the best thing I've ever done as far as timing goes. And oh my goodness, I copped some. Whenever you say anything other than Bitcoin's going up, you just get held all hell. How's this? You guys will love this one. When the market goes down, it's manipulated. When it goes up, it's adoption, right? Never manipulated going up.
Yeah.
We feel you there.
Yeah. We moderated. We used to be very focused on Facebook. We have more of a Twitter presence now, but we're still, most of our mojo is Facebook mojo. Yeah. But we said the same thing. We're like, guys, it was in the 19s, and we said the same thing. Like, there was an obvious short here. The RSI is at 97 or something. It was just
basically, it was basically red. It was melting.
Right. And we literally got death threats. We had people sending us DMs like, you guys are going to kill Bitcoin. I'm just like, man, if this idiot can kill Bitcoin with his margin bag, then it didn't deserve to win, which I'll, piss them off quite a bit more. But man.
Yeah, they're fine.
So you mentioned a few exchanges that you like, Binance and BitMEX, but what would you say is your favorite exchange, since you come from that world of probably trading on a couple different brokerage accounts and more professional trading setting, what would you say is your favorite exchange right now?
The ones that have no volume, but I can't trade them because I've got no volume. Look, it's hard to say a favorite because none of them are any good as far as I'm concerned. When we talk about a professional level, there is such a big gap. And the sooner they sort that out, like for example, Binance talking about this margin stuff coming in. I haven't gone in there. I haven't used it. I'm waiting for everyone else to go and burn their fingers and work out what's wrong with it before I enter that market. But I tend to try and trade if I'm going to go without leverage. So I'll still trade without margin. God, I mean, I'd rather trade everything with margin. But if it's not available, I'll trade without it. And I'll use Binance because it typically has a good offering. It's very safe. Touch wood. And look, it's got good volume, so I can kind of get without too much slippage, even a decent sized position I can get if I'm working within those parameters of sort of scanning the top 100. When it comes to margin, there's only two in my eyes at the moment. And there are more coming in, and I think that there will be some fantastic platforms that we'll see rise with the next run. But I'd say for me personally, BitMEX, because if it offers great liquidity, especially on Bitcoin. So I'll pretty much trade Bitcoin on BitMEX for the most part, unless the setup doesn't occur clean on BitMEX, but it does on Bitfinex. I'll take the trade where the margin offers the best setup. But Bitfinex does have more options. That's the only thing. So kind of as a crypto trader, you kind of need to have a BitMEX, you need to have a Bitfinex, and you need to have a Binance. I've got plenty of others, keeping an eye on them. But they're sort of the three that I do most of my volume through.
Yeah, we're in the
What-
same boat.
Yeah.
What do you think of all these regulations? I mean, it's mostly in the U.S. right now, but I'm sure this is coming to Australia as well, with a lot of these exchanges now being locked out to Americans.
Yeah, I find it really interesting. I mean, BitMEX were like that originally. I mean, Tone Vase, when I interviewed him, he'd just been given a kick. If you recall that period of time when
he doxed himself and lost all of his revenue. Yeah,
basically, if you want to make money doing something that you're not meant to be doing, keep your mouth shut.
all right.
Anyway, so BitMEX has been doing that for a while, but I'm really interested in how they're going to regulate that and what they're going to do, because pretty much anybody who's in crypto has, they've got some pretty sneaky little things like VPNs and all these ways of hiding it. I don't think it's a major crypto killer, as we've seen the market's gone up since they've started saying it. I am interested to see what comes next. It's a big market, and they can't hold back on it for too long, but I see it as kind of like in the edge of your vision. It's in my periphery. It's definitely not something I'm focused on.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think it's more on our radar since we are in the U.S. and
it's more for you than us.
now we're getting locked out of Binance in 2 months, and Bitfinex and BitMEX don't want us on there. That leaves us with Coinbase, which I'm hoping they add margin trading again, like they had in May 2017. But as of right now, we really don't have a lot of options. I think it's going to take a hit since U.S. is where a lot of the volume is coming out of for these markets.
I'd be interested to see what Binance do, because I've been talking about offering things for the US. I mean, it's just got to be around legislation. They've just got to, when you're talking about any financial market, and this is why the ETF's taken a long time, and it's actually not taking a long time. Okay, so let's just be realistic here. The fastest ever ETF in history was the gold ETF brought out of Australia at the time. It was 2 years. Okay, 2 years. That was fast. So for people to think that, we talk about it one day, the next day it's there, that's not how financial regulation operates. The very fact that they spoke of an ETF, well, it will happen. Now, what I've enjoyed a lot through this year more is less talk of ETFs. People need to understand an ETF, it's one product. Margin or derivative products are far more important and crucial to the development of a market, because the ETF the underlying will be driven by the futures price, really. You've got to have a futures price. Without derivative products, well, then hedge funds and big funds won't get involved, because how can they possibly get involved with the most volatile market in the world without hedging their risk with decent
Right.
volume on
Yeah.
derivatives.
For sure.
So I was saying that from the start. Like, hopefully this year is the year of the derivative. Not who gives a shit about the ETF. I couldn't care less. It will come, and it will come with time. Thankfully, the derivatives have improved. The CME's volumes, as I said before, have really ticked up
quite a bit.
But yeah, there's a lot that's happening at the moment behind the scenes, and I don't think it'll take too many things to come out for us to see the new participants coming in. What do you think about the Facebook announcement and whatnot of Libra, by the way? I'm pretty keen to hear your views on that.
You know what? We've talked a bit about it privately. We've talked about it in the group. I don't think Libra is as much of a crypto competitor as it is like a central bank competitor. If I was the fiat titans of the world, that's I think who should be concerned. I've done a lot of research. I got into Bitcoin for political reasons. So for me, the history of how these banks became the banks and stuff is fascinating. And like you look at like the Dutch East India Company of almost 500 years ago now, like how they established national banking, and you know the United States even is a offshoot of basically the East India Company.
Yeah.
And so you look at something like Facebook that has X amount billions of users, and they're going to create this financial tool that is going to be pegged to a basket of currencies. And you know that's not really a competitor to Bitcoin in any way, but it is very much a competitor to the US dollar and the British pound and the euro and everybody else, because you realize that we can all connect to each other through the Facebook economy. And you know maybe that'll be the settlement unit of what do you call it, the unit of account. So and it could also completely flop. But it seems like that they're kind of trying to dip their toe in the crypto space for that kind of, hey, we're a blockchain factor, which actually isn't true. It's actually not a blockchain, but they're advertising it that way. But I think their real target is you know what, we will be the nation state of the future. And
they're going for a bigger fish.
Yeah, you know, Mark Zuckerberg is famous for a quote. Actually, he's not so famous for a quote, but one of his quotes is that people used to live in farms, then they moved to villages, and then they moved to cities. But in the future, people are going to live in Facebook. And that's his grand vision, is that you don't go anywhere else. You don't, there's no reason to. And if they kind of create their own central bank, then yeah, I think that could absolutely, that's one of the key things to creating your own sort of ethereal nation state situation. And we've seen it before. Like that's the East India Company really kind of became the United States of America just by offering all the services that a nation does. And it just turned into that. So Libra's a weird animal. And again, I don't think it's a competitor to actual cryptocurrencies, but I think it is a revolutionary idea. So could be a weird one.
You got anything to add to that? No, I'm interviewing you now.
No, Kurt is more of our fundamentals guy, so we trust him with our research there. At least I do. I'm more like you, where I'm focused on charts and trading. But that's what makes us a good team.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, the one thing I can say about it from my point of view is that we've never had the market receive such a tick of approval. As far as credibility goes, the most innovative company in the world, one of the largest companies in the world, has just said, you know, to the masses, I mean, I know you just said it's not a blockchain thing, it's not really a cryptocurrency. They just said, hey, this is legit. This is where we're going. And so, yeah, they can't buy Bitcoin. Yeah, Congress is trying to shut it down. Yeah, they've got some massive fights. So there could be a Facebook war. You know what I mean? Like what they're trying to do, as you say, you try and take over central banking. Well, look what happened to everybody else who said no
that
to
goes
it, right?
well.
Where are we going next? Look at where we're going into. Iran hasn't got a central bank. I'm going to stop talking about that now. Maybe sure the door's locked.
Right.
But like they really are, you know, they're barking very, very loudly, and it's what that bark has done is people go, well, we can't buy Facebook coin, which is what they call it, right? That's Facebook, but we can buy Bitcoin, and Bitcoin can't be shut down. Why? Because it hasn't been, and it's not a centralized economy, so to speak.
Right.
So as far as legitimacy goes, as far as speaking to the next wave of investors, that 40-year-old to 65-year-old who's active, who comes into the space with 10 to 100 grand as opposed to $500 to $1,000. I
Right.
think that's where we're going to get the biggest kick from this Libra project, because it's brought crypto assets back into the mainstream. It's been the biggest advert that we've ever seen for the space. So for that, Mr. Zuckerberg, you're my boy.
I like it. It's funny. You bring up so many things, like as we've talked, and I've listened to a couple of your other podcasts since we spoke, and you say a lot of the stuff that we say. Like you mentioned, the ETF is less important than derivatives, which is another thing we've been talking about. Like ETF and backed are not the next thing that we need, or
No.
The way that you trade patterns and stuff too. I think we share a lot of the same values from a business standpoint. I don't know if you're as cool as you look, but but one of the other big fights that we've gotten in is kind of the fight against the pump and dump cartoons and stuff on Twitter. So we had a little bit of a spat calling out the Tezos players, and that was the big, all the cartoons are talking about the Tezos about 2-3 months ago. And now all of a sudden it's Chainlink, and Chainlink is pumping up the charts. It's going to change the world. And I'm kind of thinking it's going to be another one that takes a full retrace. But what is your thought on the sort of anonymous crypto influencer types that have sometimes 50,000 followers, and then they bundle up and they've got 500,000 people they're telling to buy, the number 75 coin in market cap, and then pumping the markets? Have you looked much into that kind of stuff, or do you stay away from it? Do you have an opinion?
I hate it. I hate it more than I hate them. The trouble. We've got to understand the level of maturity this market has. It's very, very low. In 2018 and beginning of 18, when I started this business and I started doing a podcast and I started being noticed and whatnot, I likened cryptocurrency to a toddler. They are massively emotional. They throw their toys out of the pram. They'll just sit there screaming, and you cannot console them. There is nothing that you can say to stop someone being completely and utterly irrational, right? Nothing that you can say or do. I've got a toddler. I've got a 3. How old is she now? I've got a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. So I've been through those toddler years. It's a matter of different players coming. If we think that this is the way the market is going to be for the foreseeable future, we're wrong. And that's why you see me wearing a jacket. That's why I speak the way I do. I am able to run my businesses within this market, trade this market with a professional standpoint, because look, I'm all for the young people being involved. Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that they're involved and they've got financial intelligence. I just wish that they would, I guess, invest more in themselves and less in other anonymous sources online. It's, for me, I've always positioned myself for the next wave of investors, the more mature group. And again, I'm not trying to be condescending at all. I'm just speaking my truth and what I see coming next. This is going to change. These people that have their followings, do you think when the 40 to 65-year-olds come in that a dog with a helmet is going to be climbing up the ranks of credibility? No, of course not. They'll have who they've got, and that's all they'll have. They're not going to put an anonymous person with a Daft Punk mask on CNBC to talk about cryptocurrencies. They're going to find a bald bloke with a fat gut, just like me, and that will be the person talking about. We'll have to fight to the death. So I think it's going to change.
There can only be one bald guy. Yeah.
2 bald guys, 2 gut can be the segments. But I really think it's going to change, and I'm all for that change. The more liquidity that comes in, the less these pump and dump groups are going to operate. I just really frown on anybody that's going out there to do something that's going to hurt somebody else. I think that is the most horrible way to do business. It's for people that don't have the smarts to do it, where I can help you and you can help me. I mean, when I had you on my show, Kurt, people said, why would you have another trader who's got product under? I'm like, why would I not? I've looked at this guy. He's clearly they know what they're talking about. They don't trade the same way as me. Even if I don't care. We think in abundance. We're a part of a community of positivity as opposed to a community that's very insular. It's all mine. There's no Schmeagol in me, mate. It's all about sharing and helping other people.
Sure. 100%. And that's why we agreed to have you on. We're like, we got to have Craig on. so other people can see that there are other rational people that are treating
Yeah.
this like a real business, and I don't have to be hiding because I've done something illegal or whatever else. Like,
Yeah.
exactly. Wear a suit jacket. Be appropriate to be called up by, MSNBC or, or CNBC rather, and jump
Just be
on to give.
yourself. Be a good version
Right.
of yourself. Don't be an asshole.
Right. All right. It's so simple.
It
So,
really is.
yeah.
So do you think it's detrimental to the growth that people would rather hide behind these anonymous cartoon characters versus people like us who put themselves out there? We go to events, we speak at events, we host events. Do you think that's a better way to get more people involved, or is this online closed community kind of where we're going to stay?
Mate, it's better for us. It's worse for them. They're not going to have, if you're an anonymous person, again, coming back to who I believe is the next wave and what the opportunity that I'm in here for, I'm not building this business and putting all this time in and taking myself. I'm still trading all the time. Of course, it's what my whole business is, right? But these people, if they don't have a face, who's going to trust them? One of the things that people are scared of is pump and dump groups. That's one of the bad things about this space. Now, as a trader, looking at Link as your example before, man, there's been some entries there. But you've got to remember that I'm not somebody. People say hodl. I tell my clients all the time, not just my clients, but like on my podcast and everything, take your profits, because if you look at nearly every chart that pumps 100 or 200%, it does this.
Right.
That's all the people that are going hodl,
elevator
hodl.
up, stairs down.
Exactly. So if you, again, it comes back to that education side of things. And if you want to make a living in something and you want to be good at it, then you've got to learn the skills. And you're going to learn the skills from somebody you can't trust because you don't even know who they are, or you're going to try and learn from somebody who's actually got a face, a name, a business, and travels around the world talking to these events. I think it's much better for us that these people stay anonymous.
Yeah. No, I agree.
In a selfish way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you keep talking about simplicity. I'm curious, what do your charts look like? If you pull up a chart, if somebody were to say, this is a classic Craig Cobb chart, what are they looking at? What does that look like?
Let me do that share for you right now. I'm just going to make sure I pick the right screen. Not that there's anything bad on any of my screens.
Always risky.
All right, so you can see that?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty simple, right?
Yeah. Where are all your indicators, Craig?
I use the 10 and 20 period exponential moving average. No secret there. I use the MACD. No secret there. It's real simple stuff, guys. Let me show you what my trading strategies are typically built around. They're built around supply and demand. They're built around fair value and pullbacks. So if I were to show you this chart here, which is the daily XBT, the chart I like to trade, you'll see here when we move, and this goes in uptrends and downtrends, back into this cradle zone. I call it the cradle zone because it's not a science. It's in and around that 10 and 20 period. Moves away, back in, moves away, back in, moves away. It happens all the time. Now, of course, that's one ingredient. And you've got to remember that when I trade, I work from checklists. So that's how I trade. So that's how I teach. You've literally got a piece of paper that's, you laminate it so you can use a whiteboard marker and you tick the trades off. Very simple stuff, essential factors and bonus factors. Now, if I show you this chart in a downtrend as well, what you'll see is it moves away, it pulls back in, moves away, it pulls back in. And that doesn't mean there's always a trade there, by the way. It just means that once it gets into that region, I'm looking for a few other factors. For example, a small bearish candle in that cradle zone, multiple time frame analysis, convergence of the MACD. I don't care about the crossing over of lines on moving averages or MACD. I don't use the RSI. The reason I don't use the RSI, I used to years and years and years ago, is because if you've spent enough years watching MACD, RSI, CCI, stochastics, they're all telling you the same thing. It's just
you just pick one.
So for me, I found the MACD to be like the RSI can give you a conflicting sign to a MACD because it's much more sensitive depending on the settings you've got. I just use straight out of the box stuff. But look, I pull back into that cradle zone, bearish candle, breaks the lows, good move. Another one here, good move. Another one here, good move. Now, if I go to the weekly time frame, actually, I got to use a different chart for that because I don't think.
It's not old enough.
We go back to 2017. Now, this is a weekly time frame. This is the beauty of these strategies and why I didn't have to change anything when I came to crypto. Back in the cradle here, moves away, back in, moves away, back in, moves away. It's a fact. It's a freak. You can look at it on any market you like that it trends. And here's something I also want to point out. everyone's freaking out about a decent pullback here, right? Let's have a look at 2017's 37% in the first one. The second one, we got 34%. See what's happening here. Then we're going to hit a 40%. And the next one before the big move, we're going to hit another 40%. So what do you think I'm expecting to see? Maybe 35 to 40% on a pullback. We've moved up. Let's be realistic here, guys. We've moved from the low.
Saying the exact same thing.
Right.
I posted that I outlined every single pullback from 2015 to 2017. I think there's 6 that are greater than 30% or more.
Yeah. And look what we've got so far. Like, again, we haven't pulled back into the cradle zone once. This little pullback here at the time, I said, look, I think we could get 6,600 to 6,000. Again, everyone was throwing stones at me. And it turned out that it didn't work out that way. But, you know, as we saw this lower high, lower low, came back into 8,000, retested, broke the low of that candle. It looked really on. That candle threw the spanner out of the works, to be honest. But what it did do is what it actually did was this. Look, it gave me one of the best trades of the year. A little bit, what I call a Bitcoin breakout. I mean, I ended up getting stopped out up here. Great trade. One of my, I've got apprentices, so I mentor them every couple of weeks as a group of them. He got this one, a 2-hour cradle. At one stage, he was up 100 to 1. He ended up getting out at 82, I think it was. But that's the power of margin. When you correctly, you don't need to get a 100x move. You don't need to have the token or the coin or whatever you want to call it move 100 times its value. You just need to move 100 times your risk. And that's where I think a lot of people miss the value. And all this talk of, we'll get wrecked and all that. You only get wrecked if you don't know what you're doing. So just learn. Pretty simple stuff, guys. I use Fibonacci's, I use his cradle zone, I use breakout levels. It's the order in which I used and which is where the strategies live.
Right. No, I love it. You know, and we talk a lot about that. We have a couple patterns that we play, and you know, pattern play is a little bit of different thing, but same with indicators. We're not throwing up a bunch of fibs. We're not throwing out all the pitchforks and everything that you see people do. Like, we'll play a little, you know, trend lines, basic stuff. Like maybe that's a bull flag, maybe that's a cup and handle. But actually, we make a joke. The cup and handle is a crypto trader's joke at this point. So every new guy thinks they have discovered a cup and handle and is therefore bullish. But so I love it. I love the simplicity. I love the reinforcement of the keep it simple.
Well, I think I've been very fortunate. Like, being in London, I was in the epicenter of trading. I went to New York for a while, and I traveled to New York quite a bit with business. I've presented for New York Stock Exchange, the CME Group, OANDA, CMC Markets, Trade Station. Like, I've been around for a long time. So for me, I've been very fortunate to work with some amazing traders. And what I found to be the fact, right, is that it tended to be the better they were as traders, the less they had on their charts. Now, I don't use sloping trend lines because I used to tweak them to fit the trade that I want. I just use horizontal because you can't tweak horizontal.
That's what Matt always says too. That's like,
there's nothing you can move. Less subjectivity is really powerful in the way I trade. It's got to be objective. It's got to be. There are a couple of times when you go, oh, is it or isn't it? But if that only happens every now and again, then it makes it really easy for me to make decisions. And the easier something is to get right, the harder it is to get wrong. I ain't that smart, so it's nice and easy to make things simple. Yeah,
amen to that.
So I'm curious to what you think. I know you talked about Bitcoin and gold a little bit. Do you like comparing Bitcoin to gold being a store of value, or do you see the end game of it being a currency and all these businesses accepting it as payment? Where do you see that end game for Bitcoin?
Oh, look, I don't know what the end game is for Bitcoin, but I will be trading it like a mad dog for years to come. All right. For me, it's an ideal. It's an idea. It plays into a way I'd like to see the world. That's the first thing. Second thing, it's an incredibly amazing market for those that know what they're doing. We can condense our trading careers to 5 years instead of 50 and be out of the game and buy a boat and disappear. Right. That's another reason I like that market. As far as, do I think Bitcoin will be the ruling currency? I just don't know. And I don't really care. I think that we're going towards something winning, whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's something that we haven't heard of yet. I really don't know. It'd be nice if it was Bitcoin because I got a few, so that'd be good. But I'm open to change at the same time. And because, guys like us, we are in the space. We are talking to people constantly. We are trading this market. we have the skill set to be able to see the writing on the wall. And, you know, if I have to move back to fiat, I'll move back to fiat, because at the moment I can't go and buy my Game Boy with Bitcoin.
Right. Your Game Boy. That's nice. So
do you use cryptocurrency to buy stuff today, or are you only focused on trading right now?
Look, when I can, I do, but I'm not very tech savvy and I don't trust myself. So I have done when I've needed to. Australia's got a fair bit going on with cryptocurrency outlets. Travel by Bit is one of them. Living Room of Satoshi. Yeah. You can actually go in Brisbane Airport. You can use it. There's a town called 1770 where you can literally buy nearly anything you want with cryptocurrency. And I saw a heat map on the east coast of Australia, and it's lit up. So we can spend it. Like I said, I'm dead straight. I am really bad with technology. Okay. I am really bad with technology. It's not how my brain thinks in a very logical pathway. That's why I've built the trading out the way that I have. It needs to be, because for me to go, oh, this happened, man, I'm my own worst enemy. I'll wreck something, I'll lose something. So I don't use it as much as I should. Online stuff, sure. If I'm buying something and I can use crypto, I'm still having a tussle with that internally. Because I don't want to give it away yet. I don't think it's achieved what I'm hoping for it to achieve. So I'm really, I have money in my bank account. I'd rather use that, which is a depreciating asset, than what I see as an appreciating asset in Bitcoin, despite the volatility.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Gresham's law.
That's how my logical brain works. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We've been big, on the side of merchant adoption. We want to see more businesses start accepting cryptocurrency, because
bad news.
Pretty much up until the last month, we've only accepted cryptocurrency. We just now opened up PayPal because it's very hard to keep track of recurring payments, like people wanting to pay every month for a service. Doing that with crypto is like impossible right now.
Yeah.
But I'm all for spending it where you can. I believe it's money, and I really dislike the just store value, gold, hodl bro mentality.
Look, I agree. Look, don't get me, like I said, I'm honest. The correct answer for someone like me in the space would have been, of course I use it all the time, but I just don't. I need to get better at that. God honest truth is I just do, right? I know it's not good for me to not use it. But for me, again, as an asset class, which is, I've come into this space as an asset class, I want to see people have more choice. I want to see the adoption of it. So the way I do that is by, all that I'm doing that's free out there in the world, saying, look, use it. Here's where you can find it. Let me interview this person. Today, I'm putting two guys that are opening, one owns a bar and the other one's opening a bar to accept crypto. So I try and champion it that way. Sure. I'm just really bad with technology. And it just needs to get easy enough for an idiot like me to use. And then I think we can see it go absolutely everywhere. Because for me at the moment, I suck at that. And I apologize. I got to be better at that.
We should get you set up with a hand cash wallet or something. There's a couple of projects that I think are really, they're really working on that, because it is like the fact that Bitcoin is 10 years old and it's like scary to use it is a big problem. So,
that's and it's, I'm sure there's some really easy options out there. I'm just not in front of them. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And you think I should be in front of them, right? But they still haven't come across my desk. I still haven't had them on the show where I go, that is really easy. So that's a highlighted problem there. I think we've just found a little. It needs to be worked on.
Absolutely, 100%. So, where can people find out more about you? Where do people learn who Craig Cobb is and how to work with all your cool stuff?
Yeah, look, it's pretty simple, guys. Look, everything's on the website. It's Trader Cobb, COBB for Bravo. TraderCobb.com. You can get me on anywhere you can find a podcast. The Trader Cobb Crypto Show, obviously YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that sort of stuff. But all of that is at TraderCobb.com. We're actually doing a Australian tour at the moment, taking the course on the road. And we're also, after that, probably going to the States and then London. So if anyone's got interest in that, just register so I know where we're going next. That'd be cool, because I can't wait to. I love traveling, and hopefully I can take the family this time for a little bit of it. Maybe the rest of the time they can be at home and I can sleep in. TraderCobb.com is where you can find everything.
Beautiful. Well, it's great to share some airtime with somebody that is in some ways a competitor, but very much somebody that we can respect. We can work together. I don't think Coke and Pepsi hate each other, but they have lessons they can learn from one another. And honestly, it's just really cool to have you on and see your charts and see how you think and kind of confirm that, hey, even though we are very different from the typical, there are other smart people that are very much on the same wavelength. So that's good stuff.
A pleasure. I respect you guys, what you're doing. We speak a very similar language, although we get to the same conclusions in a different way. That's what the markets are. There's more than one way to skin a cat, is the saying we have here in Australia. I have a cat and it's not skinned. It's got plenty of fur. Don't worry, I'm not an animal cruelty type person.
Yeah, amen to that. Well, thank you, Craig. Appreciate it.
Cheers, boys.
Thank you.
Take care.